welcome to Whatcha Reading. I am Miss Melanie from Charlotte County Libraries and History.
And I am Miss Ashley from the same place.
And I am Miss Liz from the same place.
And we are minus Hannah today, so we have more books than usual. So
It looks impressive, but it actually isn't.
who wants to start?
Andrea.
And Andrea. Andrea's not here either. Yes, she couldn't join us.
So you're stuck with the Three Musketeers. C'est la vie.
Do you want to go first?
I will go first. I will start off with this one. It was recently returned to the Punta Gorda Charlotte Library, and I was like, oh, it looks interesting. It's called Beast Stars. It's volume 1, and the story and art is by Paru Itagaki. And it was okay. It wasn't my favorite manga series. So the premise is they're all anthropomorphic animals. So they're animals that are walking on 2 legs. They obviously are...
Man-wolf.
Yeah, it's a man-wolf. So they're wearing clothes, they're going to school. So the entire high school, it's like predator versus prey.
Oh, cool.
So you have, it's not like, you know, but you have herbivores and you have carnivores.
So like popular kids versus not popular kids kind of thing?
Not quite. So how you're dormed up, or how your dorms are arranged, you have to be in the same family. So you have the wolf with the sheepdog, with the coyote, and with the hyena. So all of the Canidae. So then you'd have, you know, cats together, you would have deer together, so on and so forth. So it starts with there's a murder on the high school campus where an alpaca is murdered by someone. So everyone is like, oh, it's
The wolf.
it's the gray wolf, Legoshi. And so everyone's like, you know, it's you. You can't, it's your instinct, you did this. And so, but when you read the back, it talks about a dwarf rabbit named Haru. But she doesn't come in until like 3/4 of the way through the first volume, and there's not much there with her. So you know there's going to be a friendship or something because it's a rabbit and a wolf, and you know, wolves eat rabbits, so what's going to happen with that? So I wish there'd been a little bit more character development for her. But I know it's the beginning of a series. There are many volumes, so I'm like, some more stuff is going to happen. But this was not my cup of tea.
Is he like a wolf or is he a sweet wolf?
He's a sweet wolf. He's not like overbearing or like testosterone ridden or anything like that. He's in drama club. He works the lights. He's not in acting. He's not aggressive whatsoever.
Right.
And so they're like, it must be you because you're keeping your instincts suppressed. And so then you have, you know, herbivores versus carnivores, and it's like, stay away from me because you just want to eat me. And it's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
So there's tension build up, but I don't want to read anymore.
I know we recently ordered the whole series, that a lot of them, because I remember them flowing through the book river on the...
I think, well, I'm guessing most of them are at Mid-County because it has the green sticker. So it was interesting. The artwork wasn't my favorite either, but I mean, there's good conversations back and forth. But why it's called Beast Stars is one animal is supposed to be like a bridge between the two, and they're supposed to be the most, you know, gracious of them. So you have the deer character who's the head of the drama club, and his goal is to be a beast star.
Okay.
So that's the premise. Like, you know, he's going toward it, but because Legoshi helps with something, they're like, oh, well, you must be trying to do this, and he's like, no. So he might be an unintentional hero.
Okay.
But you might give it a try and let us know what you think.
So this is Breathing Underwater by Alex Flynn, and this is one of my favorite books ever. This was actually the 4th time I've read it, which is really weird because I never reread things because I have so many books I always want to read.
I'm a compulsive free reader.
Oh, I don't. There's 2 books that I've reread more than twice in my life.
Your Throne of Glass series?
That's right here. But yeah, so this book is about, his name is Nick, and he's super popular, and like he's wealthy and he's popular and he's like the top of the school, and he gets this girlfriend named Caitlin, and everything's going good and they love each other, but he doesn't tell anyone that his dad has really bad violence, temper, anger issues kind of thing. So the book starts off in court because Caitlin is getting a restraining order against him because he was violent in some way. And so the story...
The boy?
The boy, her boyfriend, Nick, was violent against her. So she's getting a restraining order against him, and this whole backstory of him being popular is told through his journal entries that he writes to the judge. So it's so the story goes back and forth between his journal entries that tell everything that led up to why she's getting a restraining order against him, and then current time after all the tension of the violence or whatever it is that happened. And it's such a good character study on people who don't realize that they have issues until it's too late. It's really good about abusive relationships, and like it's just such an emotional book about things that people are dealing with that other people can't see.
Because also
until it's too late. And I love the cover because it's like it's just a normal guy, and then there's like a drawing of like a monster coming off the side of him, because that's like how he feels like he's seen now that
Kind of looks like his dad a bit.
Yeah.
because that's all that he's known. So because he grew up with this influence, he doesn't realize that he has the temper, that he has that aggression. So then this is a wake-up call for him, but
And then there's like and the information about what it's about. It says, in a harrowing journey of self-discovery, Nick learns the truth about himself, and that the phrase like father, like son can have terrifying possibilities. So this book is I just literally got goosebumps thinking about it because this is such a good book. So.
All right. I have When You Trap a Tiger by Tay Keller.
Ooh.
And Hannah actually turned me on to this story. It's beautiful. It plays with Korean folklore, and it always starts off with, instead of once upon a time, it starts off with long, long ago when tiger walked like man.
Oh, cool.
It's so cool. And she plays with all the different tiger stories, basically. And the story is this girl, when her grandmother was a young girl, she didn't like the sad stories, and she didn't like the unhappy stories and the ones that made her feel angry. So she somehow went to the tigers, and the tigers are the ones who keep the stories. And because they no longer belong to the Sky Kingdom, they're with the tigers now. And that's actually part of the Korean folklore. It's really beautiful and how she plays with it. But when she was a little girl, she stole those stories and she put them in jars. And she hid them away, and they're called star stories. And her granddaughter, Lily, and her sister, can't remember the sister's name, but Lily is, I think she's around, they never really say how old she is, but I think she's around 11 years old, so she's just on the cusp of teenhood. And her older sister is a teenager, and she's just like, I don't care about anything. I don't want to do anything. Those stories aren't real. But Lily still believes in the magic of the stories, and that's how she and her grandmother got along so well, is they shared those stories together. Well, she moves back with her mother and her sister with her grandmother, who is starting to show signs of aging. At least I thought it was always signs of aging. But they always frame it as in these stories, this magic. And Lily starts to see this tiger appear. When it appears in the rain when she arrives, and it appears whenever Harmony is losing her, as grandmother in Korean, loses her memory, or she does weird things like she stacks boxes up against the door so no one can get in and stuff like that. And it's because the tigers are trying to get their stories back.
Oh, cool.
And there's this one tiger, so she decides, okay, I need to save my grandmother. They find out that the grandmother has
a tumor?
Dementia?
Brain cancer. Yes.
All the above.
But she doesn't understand. She's still a kid, right? So she processes it through these magical stories. And I don't ever know if it's real, if she's actually seeing these tigers or whatever, but she traps a tiger, and the tiger says, all right, if you can get my star stories back, we'll save your grandmother. So she does, and as she listens to each story, she grows up a little bit more. She's, they're not happy stories. They all have sad endings, or they make you angry in some way because she sees herself in all those stories, and she sees her Harmony in all those stories. So it's a beautiful one, and there's a library. A lot of stuff happens inside the library, so that's why I loved it too.
It sounds so good.
It's so good. It's beautiful. It's heart-rending. You cry, you laugh, all of it. It's great. The characters are awesome.
Real quick before you go to your next one, there are like trigger warnings in this book clearly for like abusive relationships and like things like that. I forgot to mention it, so, but it's good.
I like a book that can trigger you, though.
I agree.
So this is called Horimiya by Hiro and illustrated by Daisuke Hagawara. And so I read volumes 1 to 5, and it turns out I have read all of these previously, so I'm refreshing and catching up. But it's about 2 high school students that are in the same class, but they never really, they're not in the same social circles. So you have Kyoko Hori, and she's not preppy, she's not popular in the, like how you would describe popular. She knows people, she talks, she's friendly. And then you have Horimiya, who is always described as being gloomy. So he has long hair and he wears glasses and he's wearing the boys' uniform, and so no one wants to be his friend. So she ends up befriending him because her brother, who she goes to pick up, he had fallen or was chased by a dog and skins his knee. And so Horimiya brings him to her house. And she doesn't recognize him because his hair is pulled back, he's not wearing glasses, and he has, 4 piercings in each ear, and he has a lip ring. So that's why he has long hair, is because he can't have all these piercings at school, and his family owns a bakery, and it's super cute how their friendship grows and strengthens, and it's an adorable romance.
So cute.
So it's hilarious. I love it so much. And so, yes, I read 5 volumes of the manga. There are many, many more. I know we have a patron at Panagorda who is reading the entire series because there's more and more of them being put on the shelf as she's going through. I'm like, I haven't read these in forever, so I want to reread them. So glad I did. They're very enjoyable, and I can't wait to watch the anime.
Okay, I'm going to talk about 2 in 1 because they're both juvenile graphic novels. This one I love so much. I literally finished it this morning and immediately contacted Liz and was like, urgent request, get the 2nd book, please. I need to read it right now. So this is called Aster and the Accidental Magic. And I marked a couple parts because it was just so funny. But so, like there's one part. I'll tell you what it's about. Sorry. Okay. So it's about this girl, and her mom is an ornithologist. And so they moved from the city to this remote mountain land because every 15 years there's what they call the Great Migration, which are these like giant birds of lore that aren't real here, but like imagine like California condors, like gigantic birds who had like this whole nesting area that was destroyed when they built a dam. So their land where they nested was flooded. So now these birds are starting to die out because they have no safe nesting place. So every 15 years they come and attack the people of this mountain range.
Oh, yeah. That escalated.
They come and attack the people to try and, like, they attack the dam and they attack the village trying to get their home back. So her mom has this plan to make like this robot chicken, I guess, like this robot bird to like lead them to a safe place. So
I just thought of Cartoon Network.
I know. But like, and it's a lot more like fantastical and magical than how fancy I made it sound. But her parents didn't tell her that they secretly moved there for a long time. So she's like, this is stupid, when are we going back to the city? So it's 2 stories in one. It's the story of the birds and then a story later that includes Granny, who's like this ancient like woman who has these like weird long-haired dogs that like make wool. And it's so really funny.
They're dog sheep.
It reminds me of like Amazing World of Gumball, where like things are just completely random. Like so great. So like she gives her the one dog that doesn't make wool. And so like,
is he bald?
No, he's not bald. He just, I have to find. So like this is the dog. Like that doesn't look like a dog. No. It's like a weird.
It's like a pork with a big
It's tail. Like a weird like pork, like
it's
pig, sheep,
a jelly
dog
bean
thing.
With a giant fluffy tail. with little legs.
Yes, and then like later there's like a the spirit of autumn. And then like he has like these little chestnut knights, and they're literally chestnuts that dress up as knights. Like,
Oh my goodness.
it is so cute and so funny, and I love how chaotic it is. So I definitely recommend that book. And then real quick, this is The Witch Boy. It is another juvenile graphic novel by Molly Knox Ostertag. Molly Knox Ostertag. And it's about this boy who lives in a society where all the women are witches and all of the men are shapeshifters. But he wants to practice witchcraft. Like, he's so interested in like the elemental magic and the runes and everything that he's secretly studying it. And everyone's like, no, you can't do that, because the matriarch of the society, her brother was the same way. He wanted to do witchcraft, and it turned him evil. And so they're like, if you do this, it'll take you down the wrong path, and we can't, like, men have to stick to shape-shifting, girls have to stick to witchcraft. So it's about, like, gender roles and...
See, I would totally want to be a shapeshifter and not witchcraft.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, they're not both. They're like, you have to be one or the other, kind of is how it is.
Shapeshifter.
Be a magical fox.
So
Fire!
Kitsune.
The adolescent boys are like go into the forest to try. Oh, jeez, sorry. Oh well, they go into the forest to try and like the animal spirits talk to them, and then they can take their forms. So he's like going into the forest, and there's like a line that they can't cross, and his
he
friend
crosses it.
he doesn't cross it. No,
Oh.
his friend chases an animal spirit past the line and goes missing. And then all of the other boys start to go missing, and everyone's like, what's happening? Where are the boys going? And he's the only one who like doesn't go missing. So he has to like help find them using witchcraft. And like that he's not supposed to know how to use. But it's really, really good. I recommend it. I like this one better because it's like so random and funny, but I recommend them both. So.
All right. Okay, I was waiting for this one for a while. Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. So it's a prequel to Star Story.
The Hate You Give.
Thank you. And you remember in Star Story, Maverick, her father, is Big Mav, and he's wise and he's
is that
respected.
Maverick's story?
Yes, it's Maverick's story.
Oh gosh.
And it's so good.
That sounds very interesting.
At 17 years old, he's in a gang, and he's slinging, and he finds out that he's a father to his best friend's baby. So they all thought it was King's baby. It turns out it was Mav's baby. And the mom is going through postpartum depression, and she and her mom just drop the baby off and say, oh, he needs a diaper change. So he goes and he does his first diaper change ever with his mom, comes back, and they just find a baby bag and a stroller. And those two disappeared. So for months, he has this baby in his bedroom, and his mom's very tough love, like, hey, you made your bed, lay in it.
Yeah.
And but she's there every step of the way. It's really great. And he has to learn how to become a father and how to still go to high school and still figure out his life. And his father was actually in prison. He went there he kind of earned his stripes by taking the rep for somebody. And he went to prison when he was like 10 years old. So he hasn't had a father in a while.
Whoa.
And he joined the gang for protection. If you don't have a gang, you can't be protected. So it really brought out Star Story brought out the prejudice and the black experience, and his brought out the gang experience. And I really liked it because he's a great example of a black father that you don't see in literature or movies. Half the time, either he was never there.
It's a very strict stereotype, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Whereas he stays there, he loves his baby so much, and this baby isn't Star, it's Seven, her older brother, her older half-brother.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and the reason behind Seven's name is awesome. You learn about that in here. You learn about the reason behind Star's name in here. It's so, so good. And you watch this character grow from something that was completely opposite of Big Mav to almost there. He's still got some years to go.
That's
there might even
cool.
be another book.
That's
so
cool.
It was really good. I definitely recommend it. It's top of my list right now.
I really liked the movie adaptation they made of The Hate You Give.
Yes,
I haven't
I
read
did
it
too.
yet, but I saw
The movie was
the
good,
movie.
yes.
Yeah.
They moved a couple things around, but yes.
Okay, then I'll read the book.
So this one is The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen. It's Vietnamese. And
Oh, I like the monochromatic.
why the monochromatic is important. So when they're modern day, or it's happening like right now, is in the red. When they're reading the fairy tale, it's the blue, the purple. And then,
Yeah, fairy tale.
then
You had
let's
me at
see,
monochromatic. I love stylistic things in
Very cool.
because I think it's just
Oh, and it
the
looks
two
like it
colors.
blends a couple of times too.
It does,
It's
because
all yellow on the very first page.
so it's part of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's 3 parts. So it says, they say we're meant to go from here to there, but so much happens between those 2 places. And there's always more, isn't there? So what you have is you have Tien reading aloud to his mother to help her learn English.
Oh, wow.
So you find out that Tien's father and mother had to flee during the Vietnam War. And so they became citizens of the United States. And so it's how, they're trying to have him grow up, American and learning English, but they miss their family so much back in Vietnam. And then a bridge between the 2 is the fairy tale. So part of the fairy tale mimics the story of Tien's mother and father and how they met and fell in love, and
That's so cool.
and so it's 2/3 stories. It's intergenerational, and it's all wrapped together. So real life isn't a fairy tale. In fairy tales, the prince falls in love with the princess, but Tien has a different story to tell. His parents are refugees struggling to learn English, and he doesn't know how to come out to them in Vietnamese. So he's crushing on his best friend, and it's the cutest thing ever. If he doesn't even have the right words, how can he ever know if his parents will accept him? And the teacher is prejudiced, and they bring in a priest to talk to him and how it's not okay. But the mom comes up with the right words and breaches it, and it's really, really sweet. The answer is in fairy tales, a language that Tien and his parents share. Tien learns from his favorite stories as he navigates the world with the help of friends, family, and fairy tales.
That sounds
And
so good.
I just got goosebumps, but it's super, super sweet. And the princess has different dresses throughout. So she's a princess of a kingdom, and she's promised to the old man in the sea to be his queen. And she was like, I will only, be betrothed to you if you make me 3 dresses. One as beautiful as the dawn, one as beautiful as day, and one with all the stars at night. And so then she ends up masquerading as a boy in another place, and then the prince falls in love with her but doesn't know it's her, and she wears the 3 dresses. So, and his mom is a seamstress. And so again, part of the story ties to Tien and to his mom, and it's really, really pretty. But at the back, the author wrote the story and came up with it, but there are different dress designs and different styles and eras that he looked at for fashion. So one of the dresses is based on a Dior dress from the fall 2011 couture collection. So I mean, it's very detailed,
that.
but it's so pretty. It's such a sweet story, and I really enjoyed reading it.
I'm actually reading this book right now. I only have 30 pages left, but it's the end of the semester, so I had to do homework instead of reading, sadly. Tragically, I couldn't finish this book yet. And I actually put little sticky notes in because I love the quotes in this book. Like, it's so quotable. So this is called House of Holo by Crystal Sutherland, and it is super, super creepy. So it's about, the main girl's name is Iris, and she has 2 older sisters named Vivi and Gray. And when 10 years ago, they disappeared.
Dun, dun, dun.
In the middle of the night. Like, it was New Year's, and her parents were walking behind them, and they were all walking ahead a little bit, and it struck midnight, and her mom kissed her dad, and when she looked back, all 3 girls were gone. And then a month later, they showed up on the same street. They were dirty, naked, they didn't remember what had happened, and the oldest sister was holding a knife, and she was covered in her own blood. And the only fingerprints on the knife were hers. So 10 years later, the oldest sister, Gray, is now a fashion icon model. Vivi is like super like rebellious. They both left home afterwards. Neither of them finished high school. And Iris is left with, she's only one left with her mom because her dad went crazy because he was convinced that they weren't his kids. He was convinced that they were like changelings or creatures or something.
Whoa.
And no one believed him, and he killed himself, leaving a note saying, I didn't want to do this. So it's like super, super creepy and scary. So yeah, it's like kind of like succubus, changeling-esque. I don't know what it is yet because I haven't read the last 30 pages. So I don't know what the mystery is, but Gray goes missing again. And so
I ordered that book for you.
I know, she ordered it for me because it's so pretty. But
well, not necessarily for Melanie. I ordered for you guys, but I was looking through the list and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think you'd really, really like it. And she read the synopsis and she was like, mine. I'm like, all right, you can share it with the teens.
Yeah. And so Gray goes missing, and they all try to find her, and like there's like this minotaur chasing them. This guy with like this bone mask on who's chasing them.
Wow.
And they find like dead bodies with carrion flowers growing out of them, and like she has like a scar where ants crawl out, like it starts itching and she scratches it and ants crawl out of it. So like it's so creepy.
Nope, that's it for me.
There's so many things.
No.
And I am like,
you can tell me the ending.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know the ending. So yes, this book is so good and so creepy, and I just love this book.
Will it be an addition to your bookshelf?
I probably will buy this book.
Let's get away from the creepy.
Yes, please.
And do adventures, pirates. So I just finished this series. The first book is Fable, and the second book is Namesake. And we don't have it yet. I just ordered it because I listened to it. I loved it so much. So we have it in Cloud Library, but we don't have the physical copy yet. But we will have it. And it's a brand new series. So let's see. It's by Adrienne Young. Did I mention that? Adrienne Young is the author, and it's all about pirate society. And it's
Ooh, all right.
So you've got this whole pirate society, but there are lots of rules, a lot of rules.
The pirate code.
The pirate code.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
There's the unnamed sea, which no one really knows how far it goes because only a few of the really good, rich pirates have gotten out there to do trading and stuff, and they can go out into the other countries. But there's this, that's why I was looking, I was trying to remember what it was called. But there's this strait that all of the beginning pirates stay in. And Fable's father is the king pirate of all of them there. And she was abandoned when she was a little girl on an island of ruffians. These are the lowest dredges of society. And she actually has to begin on the bottom rung so she can finally climb up to her husband, to her father. Not that.
Twist! Plot twist!
And so all she wants to do is find her father and tell him off, basically, and say, you know what, I can do this. I can survive on my own. So she's what they call a dredger, and she's the one, she dives down into the ocean to find precious stones and metal and anything. But this island has been picked clean already because this is where all the dredgers start out. So she's got a special ability. She's called a gem sage, and she can actually hear the different tones that each of the gems make. That's cool. So she's able to find the stuff that she needs. But no one will trade with her because she's a woman. She's a girl. But she finds someone to trade with, and he's the one, basically, whenever he gives her money and she goes out and get food, he only gives her enough to last the week, and then he comes back and he trades again. And he only trades with her, and she only trades with him. And she does this as she's right? She's growing up, and he's a little older than her, but she finally makes it to her teen years, and she ticks off the wrong dredger, and he pays all the other dredgers to kill her. So she's got to get off this island. She has no choice now. So she gets off the island, and this finally begins her journey. This is all she wants to do. She wants to go find her pirate father. And she climbs her way up the rungs through this pirate society. It's really cool. And there's all kinds of adventure. She finally does meet her father, and things don't go the way she plans it. So she has to go on another adventure to find the ship that was lost in a storm that was her home. She used to live on a pirate ship. Her mother drowned in that storm, and that's when she was abandoned. So she finds out about her mother, she finds out about all the stuff, and there's a romance, and she really grows into herself. That's what I loved about this book, is she starts off as a young girl, and she comes out this strong, independent woman. And in the second book, things really escalate because she meets the pirate queen, and she has to go on this crazy quest to save somebody. And she has to find the legendary midnight, which is like kind of like an opal, but it shines like this night sky. Cool. And no one's ever seen it. The only person who's ever gotten it was her mother. So she has to figure out how to find it. So she goes off on this journey. And there's a lot of twists in that next one, too. I mean, you don't know who to trust anymore. Everything's really dark, and you're like, is this a second book, or is there going to be a third book?
I like dark.
But no, it ended beautifully, and she wrapped it all up, and it was great. So Adrienne Young is an author to keep your eye on. She's really good. And I love pirates.
I think she also wrote the Viking series.
I didn't see that.
There's a Viking series.
I love Vikings.
I don't remember what it's called, but it's like good. And I think Adrienne Young is the author of it.
I'll check it out. Fantastic fiction.
All right. So this one was a very interesting book. It's called Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with a Fresh Bite. So I was like, oh, cool. They're just modern stories about vampires. Sure, why not? Something different besides, Twilight, and for our more mature readers, Anne Rice, and Vampire Diaries for those who are our age or a tiny bit older.
Not like the show.
No, not like the show. Or like the True Blood series, which is based on the Sookie Stackhouse series by Charlene Harris. Again, mature teens. So it's like, vampires, sure, why not? Well, this was more different than I thought it was going to be. So it says, thirsty for fresh blood, sink your teeth into vampire stories from young adult fiction's leading voices. I'm like, okay, cool. So I start reading, because and they pull this out in the introduction, or they flesh it out in the introduction. When you think of vampires and how they're portrayed in media or in our media culture, vampires are what? They're primarily male, white, heterosexual. Okay, Twilight, they sparkle. So
they're not supposed to sparkle.
No. So each short story in here is a different take on things that we see in vampire tales, like Dracula, so on and so forth. So the first one is a different take on creation myths, or where do baby vampires come from? So it says, like so many supernatural creatures of the night, there are rules around the creation of a vampire. Some, like in Twilight, you have to have venom, inserted into you some way, shape, or form, and then you become that. Sometimes it's, okay, you have to be completely drained and then have a blood transfusion. This one is, she has to have a sip of vampire blood for 7 nights in a row. So it's a different take, but there's no heterosexual couple or story throughout this. So you have gay, you have lesbian, you have, I don't think there's a transgender one in here. There's even a different take on vampire slayers. And so you have vampire slayers versus vampires. Or there's, choosing whether to become a vampire or not. So this takes all of what we consider vampire culture and just twists it all around. So it was very, very interesting because, again, you have, and when you think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, she was, a cheerleader in high school. She was blonde. She was, shapely and popular and everything. Well, she's part of a competitive cheerleading squad, but she's one that you would find on the base of a pyramid. She is shorter. She's muscular. She's like, I have very strong thighs. She's not the Barbie that, cheerleaders are often depicted as in TV shows and movies. And then it's her, I don't remember if it was her falling in love with a vampire, but there's definite tension there. So you have the short story, and then you have what they were changing or what they were confronting about, you know, okay, heterosexual? No, here's a, you know, a gay vampire.
Yeah.
Or, so it was very, very neat. And I did enjoy it more so than I thought, even though it was something completely different from why I picked up the book in the first place. But I would recommend it. And again, it's Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with a Fresh Bite. And I am now finished.
Okay, I couldn't remember the main character's name. So this is You Have a Match by Emma Lord. And it was so good. Like, it was so different from what I thought it would be. So there's these three best friends, Abby, Leo, and Connie. And they're like inseparable. And they're taking this ancestry class, or like it's like a class that has something to do with like genealogy and all of that. And Leo is adopted, so he's hoping that if he does this like heritage online thing, kind of like Ancestry.com, they'll connect him with a member of his family. Like that's what he's hoping for. So the three friends all do the Ancestry.com, or not that, it's a DNA service. They all do the test, and then he doesn't get any matches, and he's really depressed, but Abby finds out that she has a 100% biological sister that she has no idea exists. So she's like, what? And then
surprise.
And then so the sister contacts her because when there's a match or a relative on the website, you have a way to contact them. So Savvy reaches out to her, and she's like, hi, you're my sister. Let's figure out what's happening. So Abby is, I think she's 17, and she's 16 because she's a junior, and Savvy is 18. So they meet and they find out like that in the pictures, she brings this picture of her parents, and like Savvy's parents are in the picture with them, like in their wedding ceremony, like they married them. And so she's like, wait, our parents know each other, and they live in like the same city. So they're like, our parents know each other, but we don't know that we exist. So they go to this summer camp, and Savvy's working the summer camp, and Abby's getting really bad grades, so she goes because they have this SAT program, and so she lies to her parents, like she's supposed to be in summer school, but she tells them, like, she like deletes all the emails, like clears the voicemail box, and like does all these things so that her parents don't know she's supposed to be in summer school, so she can go to this SAT prep program to get to know her sister and try to figure out the mystery. And so she's on the ferry, and Leo's like, oh my gosh, you're coming to the same camp with me? And she's like, uh-oh. Because she calls it the BEI, it's the big embarrassing incident that happened the summer before between her and Leo. So they're at this summer camp, and there's like drama and potential romance because we don't know what exactly the big embarrassing incident is or how anyone feels about it. And all these things happen, and we find out the mystery between the parents and why they've been kept apart the whole time, and it's very good. So You Have a Match. I liked it because it wasn't as heavy romance as I thought it would be. It was a much more like sister bond love kind of thing, like Frozen, where romance is just on the side, but the main thing is like the love between the sisters. So this is very interesting. I liked it a lot.
All right, I saved the best for last. Okay, remember how I was raving about Song of the Crimson Flower last month? Well, this is actually the series before it. Remember, there was one part where I was like, you know, they had some really good characters, and there was one I really wanted to know her story. It sounded really good. It was already written. It was. That's awesome. I do that a lot. I pick up the books, and I'm just like, wow, that was so good. I wish I knew what happened before that. Oh, there's a book? So here it is, and it's actually a reimagining of the Snow White story and the Evil Queen, and it starts with the Evil Queen, as it should. And I love the titles. There's Forest of a Thousand Lanterns and Kingdom of the Blazing Phoenix. I love those. They're so good. And these books are chock full of magic and mystery and treacherous courtesans and all kinds of stuff. So this is again playing with the Asian tropes. And we have Shifeng, who is born poor, but she's always been raised to believe that her destiny is to be empress of all of Fanglu eventually. And she's a very innocent, very sweet girl. And you think, okay, how is she going to become the evil queen?
Stuff
because it tells
happens.
you that in the beginning. It tells you that that they market this as the rise of the empress, the evil queen empress. So we're like, she's so nice and she's sweet and she's in love with this guy named Wei, and they want to run away together, and it's beautiful. And then it just starts going darker and darker and darker. So she finally has to get out of the clutches of her aunt, her Guma, who uses these black spice incense sticks to commune with the spirit world. So there's a lot more magic in this one than there is the black spice stuff in the other one, which was more like opium. At least I thought it was. Now I'm like, no, this is something completely different. And she has these cards. She's always had these 7 cards that come up when the spirits commune with her, and they tell her her destiny, and that she's tied to 2
like
men.
Tarot cards of sorts.
Sort of, yes. And but they're made of gold.
Okay. So
Right.
like golden Mew Pokemon cards.
And she's destined to become the Empress of all of Fanglu. She's tied to 2 men. One she will betray, and one she has to decide between. Do you want this life or do you want this life? And it's really, really beautiful because you feel the tension, and you actually feel the corruption with her. It was really cool because you think, okay, she's gotten to this level. If she wants to get higher, she's going to have to do something really naughty.
Right.
And you're like, I would never do it, but I kind of hope she does because I want to see where this goes. And it's great. It's really dark. It's bloody. When she is finally in the palace and she finally gets to meet the emperor and everything, there's this one treacherous courtesan who is she's such a good bad guy. And I'm thinking, well, dang, how are we going to get past this one? How are we going, this sweet girl becomes so vicious and evil?
Murder?
So that's the first one. Oh, there's a lot of murder. There's a lot of everything. So this is definitely for older teens. There's a lot of murder in this one. And
mature
a lot of
audiences.
seduction too, because they are courtesans.
Courtesan.
Yeah.
So it's a harem. And but Forest of a Thousand Lanterns is about how Shifeng rises to power. So in this story, the empress who she must usurp is actually a really sweet, proud, very confident, and powerful woman. And she hungers for a daughter. She's never had a daughter. She has all princes. And Shifeng has always hungered for a mother. So they basically love each other so much, but sooner or later, something's got to happen. So something does happen, and then the next story is her daughter, Empress Li Hao's daughter, Jade, and that's Snow White. And this one escalated so quickly, like within the first few chapters, she's sent off on this quest. So she meets Shifeng and she realizes just how evil her stepmother is. She's bad. And she goes off into the wilderness and she has to complete these quests, and she has to bring together these relics of the Dragon King to defeat Shifeng. I don't know.
So this is more of the traditional
Yes.
Snow White story versus the Snow White and the 7 Dwarves, the Disney.
there's not really
This is more of the Brothers Grimm.
Yes, it's
esque
very
type.
dark,
Okay.
and it's got all of the Asian folklore. It
Cool.
plays a lot with that, and in this one, there's great storytelling. Like there's one with the crane wife. I don't know if you've read the crane wife one, but it's basically about a sky maiden who's pretends she's crane, and she goes on down into the world, and she bathes in this brook, and then a farmer sees her, and he steals her robe. She steals her celestial robe, and won't give it back. So she is stuck, and she has to marry him and have his kids and everything. And
It's like a Selkie story
I was
where you
like-
steal the seal skin and they can't go back into.
Yes,
Okay.
like that. And isn't it funny how they all overlap like that, all the different cultures? And she really plays with that, twists it so wonderfully. There's these evil creatures that are chasing them as they're on this quest, and they have to stay one step ahead of them always. And it's beautiful, and I'm only halfway through, so I have no idea what's going on, and it's wonderful. But I'm sure we know, because the Song of the Crimson Flower, we know that Shifang is defeated somehow, but I cannot for the life of me figure out how, because she has all the cards right now, and it's really good. So definitely Julie C. Dow, I'm gonna read everything she has.
All right, so this month we, even though there are 3 of us, we still made up for our 2 missing members. So let us know what you are reading, whether you decide to read these, or again, if you have any recommendations for us. And this is our last video before summer, so we will see you back in August. So,
Yay, summer reading.
Summer reading. And we will see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.